And thank you for joining us for our second half hour, The Factor Uncensored. The headlines from the national media are eye-grabbing at best. Wealthy white Louisiana residents split from Baton Rouge to form their own city. But is race a real issue at the core of this municipal secession? The 86,000 residents who are forming their own city in St. George, Louisiana, say it's about better schools for their children and better city services. Baton Rouge is more than 50% black, and those who are against a split say the city will be hurt by this action to create a new city, which was approved by the Louisiana State Supreme Court last Friday after a 5-year-long battle. And joining us on The Factor Uncensored tonight, we have with us Eugene Collins, who's the former president of the NAACP in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Eugene, you guys have quite a situation there with St. George, the community now breaking off, becoming its own city after the Louisiana Supreme Court approved it. So what do you think this will do to the city of Baton Rouge?
It's confusing, right? When you look at it just on the surface, there's so many unknowns to the city of Baton Rouge. So already what it has done is severely confuse the residents. And the biggest concern that I've seen so far is about where do people send their kids to school, right? Because you have a ton of folks that live in that area that if a new school district is established over the next 2 years, I mean, you got some legacy things, the folks that might have went to some of the inner city Baton schools that now maybe have to go to school in St. George, and those families are up in the air. So what is already caused, in my opinion, is severe confusion. And I think some of the dangers of it futuristically is you continue to further divide an already highly racially charged area. And that just can't be good for the city of Baton Rouge overall and over time. But at the same time, I want to acknowledge that these folks are organized. They went out and got the votes. They raised money to continue their legal battles. And they went through a democratic process to get this city established, for which, you know, I understand democracy and I understand that's the way that government is supposed to work. But at the same time, it's a dangerous notion, I believe, for the city of Baton Rouge to split at any level with the current environment that we have.
And of course, for those who are wondering, how did we get here? You look at the New York Post, you look at the Daily Mail, and the headlines show mainly white, wealthy community pulls out of Baton Rouge, starting their own city. Would that be accurate? And what is the reasoning behind pulling out of Baton Rouge from your perspective and what you know?
Well, when you look at the basis of what they have publicly said about their argument to separate from the city of Baton Rouge, it's been based around better schools, right? Which in itself on its face doesn't make a ton of sense, right? Because you have some people that have supported this movement that have held hold seats on our school board, right? And it's supposed to be their job to improve schools. So that notion in itself is kind of contradictory to what we see on his face. Not to mention, when you look at the makeup of the organizers and you don't have any people of color amongst them, it's hard not to make the assumption that this is something that might be racially driven. But at the same time, you know, I have to be honest and say that the rhetoric, the narrative that they have pushed has been about better schools. But I don't see how separating our district separating the school district can create better schools.
But so right now, the Supreme Court has only approved the city, creating a city. You're not at a school district yet. And much of this still may be down the road in building the process.
Much of it may be down the road, but there are already House bills that's been put forth to bring about the things that are necessary and needed to ensure that this city gets its own school district. Not to mention that you know the various things that have been done to improve the district in that region already. This city is paid for, right? Not to mention when you look at how the plan on supporting themselves. It's pulling a lot of the resources and the tax bases from Baton Rouge, stuff that has been used to keep our city stable, right? So
I think Sharon Weston Broom, the mayor there, said the city of Baton Rouge could lose at least $46 million annually as a result of this.
At least, and probably more, right? So when you take all that into account, this is going to hurt the underserved. This is going to be paid for on the backs of poor Black folks, right? Because when you think about Baton Rouge, people always assume that folks that look like me that live in certain communities don't pay taxes. And that's very far from the truth. We are property owners where everything else in our tax dollars go towards making this city a stable place to live. And when you do something like this, you put all of that in jeopardy, right? And it continually affects people that look like me in certain communities. And that's sometimes what folks don't understand, even the folks that look like me, right? Because my kids, they're going to be fine, right? I'm going to be fine. You know, I'm an educated Black man that makes a certain income level, right? But it's the folks that are just on that line, right? That live in certain communities that are just on that line. They're going to feel the brunt of this impact. And largely, man, they don't even understand what's going on because of the information that's rolled out, which is really the rough part.
All right, Eugene Collins, former president of the NAACP in Baton Rouge, we appreciate your time, and thank you for bringing us the latest and the details on this out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Thank you, sir. Now, Andrew Morrell, attorney and spokesman for St. George, says this to Fox: St. George was a lawful election. The Supreme Court upheld the incorporation based on facts, evidence, and testimony. The opposition tries to create a divisive narrative because the facts and law support St. George. Now, this point is very important. Morrell went on to say our area was unincorporated and not part of any city. Baton Rouge never sought to annex our area. We followed the law and created a city where there was none.